The NFL season is almost here, and we're previewing the New England Patriots. Welcome to the Quickie podcast from TheLead Sports. Today's episode is brought to you, as always, by MyBookie. They're giving away free money right now on mybookie.ag. Just go to mybookie.ag, enter the promo code LEAD50, L-E-A-D, 50, all capital letters, and get a 50% deposit bonus when you sign up. This is free money to gamble with the NFL season right around the corner. mybookie.ag and type in the promo code LEAD50 to get your deposit bonus. This is the Quickie podcast from TheLead Sports. I'm Matt Keller, managing editor of TheLead Sports. And on this episode, we're talking about the Patriots and Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm lucky enough to be joined by two longtime friends, and more importantly for these purposes, longtime diehard Patriots fanatics, Jay Spang and Jason Murphy, otherwise known as Murph. Gentlemen, welcome.
How's it going, Keller?
Awesome. So excited for this Patriots season. We're just over a week away. Jimmy Garoppolo, for a player who may not step on the field all season, he's got a lot of our attention. He's taking up a lot of the time and really the preseason preview around this team because it's so the situation he's in is so interesting. Let's start by kind of what do you think of the player? What do you like about him? And then what do you think of his upside as if say he took over tomorrow for the Patriots? What do you think of him long-term as a quarterback? Start with you, Minister.
So I think it's pretty absurd, the fact that he's probably a top 10 quarterback in the league, but he's not going to see the field. He's playing behind Tom Brady. Belichick passed up at least the 12th overall pick for him, I believe, in this past draft. It remains to be seen if that was a good decision or not. One thing that I do find interesting about him is he does have a lot different style than Brady. He does have the capability to roll out and, when there's traffic, run around some guys in the backfield, see players downfield. He may make some more dicey throws than 12 typically does, but he does have that in his game. So it'd be nice to see him in some regular season games, but obviously not at the expense of playing 12.
Murph, what do you think of him as a long-term quarterback prospect? Top 5, top 10, top 15? Obviously not as good as Brady. We're not comparing him to Brady in terms of career accomplishments. But what do you like, or what do you feel about the player as a long-term prospect?
I feel like he's definitely like Minister said, he's probably a top 10 quarterback in this league. That's not really saying much considering I feel the quarterbacks in this league suck. But long term, I think with the right team, he could be a top 5 quarterback.
What about the Patriots?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the telltale question. I mean, if he goes to Cleveland, he's not a top 10 quarterback, I don't think.
It's a strong take, Murph.
No, I feel like the Patriots system is definitely helped him, and being able to sit down and watch one of the best of all time, the best of all time, operate and see how he goes about his business every day, and it's definitely put him in that category. I mean, you put him on the field today, and the Patriots are still probably a top Super Bowl contender. That being said, I don't know if that's the case on any other team.
Yeah, I think I have him as a top 8 QB if he stays with New England. Like you said, he leaves. It's tough to tell depending on the team. To me, he's the type of guy where he can make the Hall of Fame if he wins enough or a couple titles, not necessarily based on his own stats, but the kind of team winning combined with the stats, maybe like an early Brady if he got on a really good team. More winning than putting up monster numbers, but the team will be winning because of him, not incidentally to him. But more importantly, assume he doesn't play this year. Assume Brady finishes it out and whatever. We can discuss the possibilities, how Brady will do. As we know now, what are the chances Garoppolo is starting week 1 next year? Minister.
I think it's the most non-talked about giant topic in Boston sports media right now. If Belichick was going to trade him, he would have done it this past offseason. The people in New England should get pretty prepared that there's a good chance Brady's gone next offseason and Garoppolo's your starting quarterback moving forward. Nobody's really talking about that because I don't think anyone can really wrap their heads around it. But if anyone's going to do it, it's fucking Belichick. And I think that Garoppolo will be a good option moving forward. He's 15 years younger, and like we said, he's probably a top 10 quarterback. He's been in the system for multiple years already, so it remains to be seen, but it should be very interesting moving forward.
So what percent would you put on it? I put a little lower. I put 20% that Jimmy Garoppolo is the week one starting quarterback for the Patriots, assuming no injury, he's chosen to be the starter by Belichick. What percent do you put on it?
I'll throw it at 25 to 30% that he's the starter either next season or the season after. I think there is a chance Belichick might franchise him and carry both for one more year after this year, depending on how it goes.
I do too, but I've heard people closer to the situation say there's absolutely no chance they franchise him for a year and keep him because it'll be $25 million out of pocket for a backup player. What do you think, Murph?
I don't think they'll franchise him. And I'd give it 5%. I just don't think you can sit Brady. I don't think you can get rid of Brady if he plays anywhere near the caliber that he played last year. It's just insane.
So if Brady does not decline, what are the options here? To me, they are let Garoppolo walk for nothing, franchise him and keep him, franchise him and trade him for a lesser asset, or somehow sign him to a short-term, cash-rich deal that doesn't leave him totally screwed if he never gets on the field. He makes a bunch of money that he can put in the bank, and he still has plenty of years left to go back on the open market. It's like a minister said, if they're going to trade him, they would have done it this offseason. Their options are getting limited. To me, I honestly can see them letting him go for nothing, even though I think it would be crazy to let your quarterback of the future go for nothing with a 40-year-old on the roster.
But at least he's motivating Brady. And also, if you think he's signing a 2-year, $25 million deal or something, you're out of your fucking mind. That he'd be a moron to do that.
Well, I've heard the same thing about the Patriots. The Patriots would be out of their fucking... If you think the Patriots are franchising him, you're out of your fucking mind. And I don't think it's completely beyond the realm of possibility. It's just, I guess, the cash outlay for a single year. How do they find a way to keep this guy? And is there a possible way to keep this guy long-term and let Brady play out his talent? I guess not.
No.
Do you think Belichick would trade Brady after this year if they won the Super Bowl and he didn't decline? I know Belichick would trade his mom, but would he really trade Brady this offseason if he did not decline?
I was going to say if anyone would do it, it's Brady. What do you think, Murph?
Or it's Belichick.
Belichick. Yeah, if anybody in the league would do it, it would definitely be Belichick. But I don't think you could ever do that, especially, I don't know, even Belichick in this town. If he won another Super Bowl and played as well as he did last year.
So we're looking at go ahead.
I say let him walk and then go get him in 5 years.
But we could be looking at a situation where we let Garoppolo walk out the door for nothing, and then 1 year later, Brady is done.
What are your thoughts, Keller, on, just keeping him? Do you think it's more value to Belichick not getting the first-round pick in return just to keep the fire lit under Brady's ass and keep his options open?
I think yes, but I would add a big reason to that. I think the reason that they didn't trade him this offseason in a big part was they feel like they have a championship team. They feel like a sixth championship will put them ahead of the 49ers and solidify all of their legacies. And Bill Belichick was not going to let a offensive lineman falling on Tom Brady's knee from the side throw this away. They wanted a backup who could play this year. No question about it. Someone who could step in and win a Super Bowl if Brady got injured. I think that's a big part of it, guaranteeing the Super Bowl this year.
So you think Belichick's excited about the Wes Welker injury then?
You mean Julian Edelman?
yeah, excuse me, Edelman.
I wouldn't go that far, and this is the subject we could talk about for days, but unfortunately, we have to wrap it up here. Jimmy Garoppolo, looking forward to next year, and more importantly, the year after, and where he stands with the New England Patriots. It's going to be really interesting to see. The NFL season's almost here, and we're previewing the New England Patriots. Welcome to the Quickie podcast from The Lead Sports. Today's episode's brought to you by MyBookie. They're giving away free money right now on MyBookie. Just go to mybookie.ag and enter the promo code LEAD50 to get a 50% deposit bonus when you sign up. That's free money to gamble with. The NFL season's right around the corner. Go to mybookie.ag and type in the promo code LEAD50, L-E-A-D 50, all capital letters, to get your deposit bonus. This is the Quickie podcast from The Lead Sports. I'm Matt Keller, the managing editor of The Lead Sports. And on this episode, we're answering rapid-fire questions on the upcoming Patriot season. I'm lucky enough to be joined by two longtime friends, and more importantly for these purposes, longtime diehard Patriots fanatics. Jay Spang, otherwise known as the Minister, and Jason Murphy, otherwise known as Murph. Gentlemen, welcome.
How's it going, Keller?
It's going great. Okay. Let's just start from the beginning here. I love these type of questions. Which player are you most excited to see develop this year? I'll give you my answer when we come back around and start with you, Minister.
Clearly, Brandon Cooks. The second we traded for him, first home run hitter since we had Moss. I already have my Brandon Cooks jersey. I'm wearing it right now with no pants on. I have my gambling account fully maxed out for week one, pretty much because of the Cooks signing. So I'm most excited to see him play with Tom Brady.
Murph?
Boy, I just got a mental picture of you and you. Cooks jersey. I'm excited. I'm a defensive guy, so I'm excited to see Gilmore. I'm excited to see what Belichick can do with two stud corners and a defensive backfield, which the D-backs are as good as we've ever had. So I'm excited to see the addition to him and how it affects the rest of the defense.
For me, it's Trey Flowers. I mean, it's not even close. I kind of took develop more as like guys who weren't, who have already developed. I took them off the rung. So guys who are still getting better. But Cooks is so young, I guess you can put him in that category. For me, it's Flowers. Like, how many sacks can he get to? I want him to be an elite sack guy, not necessarily easy in Belichick's defense, but he's one of the few guys I've seen since those 03-04 teams and beyond that can legitimately stop the run and be a pass rushing threat, a multi-positional pass rushing threat out of Belichick's defense.
Well, and he better develop because he's their only friggin' pass rusher.
Exactly.
And then to your point on Cooks, he's 23 and he wasn't happy with the system in New Orleans, so it should be interesting to see where he goes this year.
Gotcha. Which player worries you the most?
Which player worries me the most on the team as far as declining?
I would define it as which player worries you the most on the team in terms of single-handedly costing us the Super Bowl, whether it's injury or talent. For instance, mine's Nate Solder, and it's just his injuries. He's injury-prone. He goes out with an injury. I think that's one of the few things that could prevent this team from winning the Super Bowl. We all saw what happened with Von Miller teeing off on Brady a couple AFC championships ago. Not to say Denver's that good this year, but look, the Super Bowl is against the Giants. Everyone knows what the Patriots' weakness is, and that left side is going to be really important.
Yeah, and nobody wants to see Cam Fleming on the field. I think we've seen enough of him in the preseason getting turned like a road cone. And my answer is going to be very cliche because Ely already got cut. He was a troublemaker. And then I would say the most indispensable guy on the team besides Brady was Edelman, because when you had a 3rd and 5, have to have it. Edelman gets the best separation in the league for like a 6 or 7 yard pass, even when the defense knows it's going to him. So that totally sucks. It probably takes 19-0 out of the question, which I was kind of hoping for. We're completely loaded offensively, but in those 3rd and 5s in big spots, that's going to suck not having Edelman there.
Okay, you kind of skipped a question, though, in terms of which player would you least like to lose. Which player worries you most that's still healthy? Is it the left DN spot? We're not quite sure who's starting there. Is it Gilmore because he's unfinished goods? I mean, there's not a lot of worry on this team, but a couple years ago, it was both tackle positions, especially Marcus Cannon. Anyone worry you in terms of, I'm just a little unsure?
I would just say the pass rush in general. I think they're going to have a hard time getting the quarterback. The good news is that they're typically going to be leading by a couple touchdowns. So it'll be set up for the pass rush, but there's not a lot of guys that are one-on-one going to be able to get to the quarterback, first quarter.
What do you think, Murph? Who worries you the most?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. You guys are going to probably not agree with this, but based on his preseason performance and his very the contract he didn't receive, is Malcolm Butler worries me a little bit. He's had a terrible preseason. Been scored on twice already. One-on-one coverage, and I think the signing of Gilmore, we're going to see how mentally tough he is. And he's probably playing for a huge contract now. So, so he kind of worries me a little bit in that aspect because I think he thought he was getting paid this year and he didn't.
Yeah, see, it's interesting. I can definitely see what you're talking about. I also go the other way on Butler. To me, seems like maybe the guy on the team I would least worry about in that situation because he came from nowhere and he's super competitive. But I can kind of see it your way, too. To me, him and Garoppolo are both primetime players. It sounds weird because they're both young and they haven't accomplished that much. But to me, you put the big lights on both of them and they step up. I think that's been proven. So I hope that's the case with his preseason performance.
Keller.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, the guy also caught the interception to win the Super Bowl. So I'd say he's pretty seasoned. But I did think it was interesting to hear Murph say he's concerned about Butler because I'm totally on your bandwagon, Keller. Not worried about him at all, but he definitely has had some lumps so far in the preseason.
I'm more worried about Gilmore, honestly, just the idea that maybe he's not even as good as Logan Ryan. I think that's a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's a possibility. Going to skip ahead.
Please don't say that.
Going to skip ahead to a similar question. Which player would you least like to lose? I found this to be really hard until very recently. Now there's no question what my answer is. It's Cooks. But the player you would least like to lose, this was really tough for me until a couple days ago.
Yeah, so I know I already kind of said this, but I was going to say Edelman, and we've already lost him. I would say the good news is we have a lot of running backs and receivers that could combined make up for his departure. Like, they won't be as good as him, but we got Foster, James White. That guy Carr will probably get a longer look from Belichick now. Amendola. So, and then as you mentioned, Cooks. He lines up in the slot, but more of a deep threat. But I think we do have some options there. But obviously, Edelman was the best in the league at doing what he does.
So you would put Cooks as your answer now? The only other answer I have is back to Solder and Cannon. I mean, that actually may be a better answer. It's between Cooks, Solder, and Cannon for me. Murph?
Mine would be at this point now with losing Edelman, without a doubt. I think it would be Gronk.
Gronk,
you lose him.
You know they won the Super Bowl without him last year.
Yeah, but you had Edelman. I mean, the offense kind of didn't really have to, and you had Martellus Bennett in there. But you take Edelman and Gronk out, two of Brady's favorite targets. You're looking at a whole new offense that they're going to have to implement in the middle of the season. And I mean, you saw the effects when they did lose him at certain times of the year. The offense didn't really look the same a couple times that he's gone down in the past.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to go through these last two real quick. Most overrated player on the team and most underrated. For me, overrated is hard. I'll probably go with Gilmore, even though he hasn't played a regular season game. I'm not trying to be down on him, just in terms of what people are expecting in the contract and what I saw from him in Buffalo in the preseason. And most underrated, most assuredly, is Alan Branch. Minister, real quick.
Yeah, I would say that Devin McCourty is pretty overrated. They got him like 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage every play. He's one of the highest paid safeties in the league. He's a really good player, but for that money, you'd like to see him in the mix more. And then just kind of an odd one for most underrated. I think because we won the Super Bowl without Gronk, as you were just saying, people forget that he's one of like the 10 best players in the league and changes the whole game when he's on the field like Moss did. So the biggest offseason acquisition by far was Gronk.
Those were the rapid-fire Patriots questions, and we appreciate you listening. As always, the Quickie podcast is brought to you by MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag and type in the code LEAD50 for a 50% deposit bonus. LEAD, all capital letters, 50 for a 50% deposit bonus. It's free money. Don't turn it down. NFL season's right around the corner, and we're previewing the New England Patriots. Welcome to the Quickie podcast from TheLead Sports. Today's episode is brought to you by MyBookie. They're giving away free money right now on MyBookie. Just go to mybookie.ag and enter the promo code LEAD50 to get a 50% deposit bonus when you sign up. That's free money to gamble with the NFL season right around the corner. Just go to mybookie.ag and type in the promo code LEAD50 to get your deposit bonus. This is the Quickie podcast from TheLead Sports. I'm Matt Keller, managing editor of TheLead Sports. On today's episode, we're discussing the Patriots offense, the addition of Brandon Cooks, and how they will respond to the loss of Julian Edelman. I'm really lucky to be joined by two longtime friends, and more importantly for these purposes, longtime Patriots diehard fanatics. These aren't journalists. These are real fans who are knowledgeable as shit. Jay Spang, otherwise known as Minister, Jason Murphy, otherwise known as Murph. Yes, there are lots of people named Murph in the Boston area. That's not a, what would you call it? A
stereotype?
Correct. Gentlemen, welcome. We are talking, this is the most fun. We're talking about the Patriots offense. I mean, before the Edelman injury, I would have said we're back to 07, and we may still be. I guess we start there. How much will it hurt? Will it hurt them at all when it comes to their record, and how much will it affect their offense? I'll start with you, Minister.
I would say it probably will hurt the record, unfortunately, just because in tight games, he's our 3rd and 5 guy, got to have it. But we're obviously still completely loaded offensively, so we'll still have the best offense in the league. So it's not a death blow. We're still the Super Bowl favorite, but it is obviously unfortunate for us diehards.
Murph?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a huge blow. Record-wise, I'm not sure. I mean, 14-2, 15-1, I still think they can do that without Edelman. They've proven to be able to lose Gronk over the years. But and they still have a shot at undefeated. I think the beginning part of the schedule is pretty
easy,
pretty favorable. Yeah, it's favorable at the beginning, so they can implement whatever system they want to do and plug in who they need to plug in and kind of play around a little bit until they figure it out. Like barring an injury to Gronk, I don't see any reason why we keep this rolling. So
I think
that's a pretty big if on Gronk, though.
True.
A very, very big if. It's huge. The guy's had 3 back surgeries.
I don't think it affects... I mean, the only thing regular season is important for is seeding. So I don't think it affects the seeding. We get the number 1 seed.
No.
But ask yourself this. Now, we do have Cook, so that's a difference. But do they win either of the last 2 Super Bowls without Edelman? Obviously, the answer is no.
One thing to chime in on that, what I love about Edelman is the guy was concussed in both games. The Seattle game, he caught the game-winning touchdown. The Atlanta game, they asked him about a catch post-game, and he had no idea what they were talking about. They had to show him on the TV monitor. So I love how that guy can just be concussed and on autopilot and still run the routes and be like the best receiver on the field.
How great was that Atlanta catch? I saw Edelman at LAX. Great celebrity sighting place, by the way, out in LA, the airport. So I saw Edelman coming off the plane at LAX like a couple weeks after that, and it didn't even need to be said. I just looked at him, got his attention, said his name. He looked at me. I just gave him a strong fist pump and just like kind of a nod saying thank you. No words need to be exchanged. He knew exactly what I was talking about. That fucking catch will go down in history with Butler's interception in the Seahawks Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
Best catch of all time. Let's
get on to Cooks. I mean, the first question is, how does he fit in? Answer, perfectly. Let's go to the next one. How good is he? On a level of... If you say Odell Beckham's like the best small receiver in the NFL, you can pick your own. I'm not like saying Odell Beckham's the best guy ever, but to me, he seems like the best small receiver in the NFL. Depending on how big Antonio Brown is, maybe him. If those guys are the best small receivers in the NFL, where does he fit in? Like, how fucking good is this guy, Minister?
So it obviously remains to be seen, but all reports out of training camp is that he works his balls off, studies his balls off, is growing rapport with Brady, and they just don't shoot shit out of there. Typically, if you're hearing good stuff, it's true. If you're hearing bad stuff, it's true. So I have very high expectations. He's 23, one of the fastest players in the league. I expect really big things.
Murph?
Yep, on Minister's page, been hearing a lot of good things out of camp, and With the injury to Edelman, I think you'll see some more his number be called quite often. I think it's going to add an element to their offense that between him and Gronk, you're going to have to pick your poison. Plus, I mean, Hogan's playing great, and he just adds another dimension to this offense, and it makes that injury not as severe as I think it would have been last year.
What is the biggest weak link on this offense? It has to be backup tackle, right? I don't know if there is another weak link on the offense unless another receiver goes down with an injury. But we have all the running backs. We have Cooks. We have Gronk. We have Dwayne Allen. We have Mitchell. We have Amendola, and we have Hogan. Like, that's a lot of firepower.
Solder being down. If Solder doesn't play and we have to watch Cameron Fleming play left tackle and Brady get killed, that's the weakest link.
Even Scarnecchia can't cover that up.
Yep.
You agree with that, right, Murph?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Fleming, he's been terrible. But again, I would have said the same thing last year with Marcus Cannon. I was ready to run him out of town. They kept bringing him back year after year after year, and he finally caught it last year.
Well, that was Scarnecchia. That was Scarnecchia, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, it is. So could he do the same thing with Fleming if need be? I don't know. I mean, I doubt it, but I would have said the same exact thing about Cannon last year.
Fair point. Real quick on the running backs, how do you think the carries will be divided? Who do you think will get the most carries? Take catches out for a second. Carries. Is it Gillislee?
I think Gillislee is definitely going to be the goal line back, getting all the Blunt garbage touchdowns from within the two. Thank God we don't have to watch Blunt tiptoe and play Dick Dock in the backfield this year. Obviously, Belichick noticed it and decided to spend some money on the position this year. And I think a lot of the other guys are really good at catching out of the backfield, so that hopefully covers up the Edelman injury a little bit.
I mean, I have it as Gillislee will lead them in rushes, White will lead them in touchdowns and receptions, but Burkhead will have this combination where he's just behind White in touchdowns, he's just behind Gillislee in rushes, and he's just behind White in receptions. He'll be a jack of all trades, like like a bigger Danny Whitehead. You know, I like to do cross-racial comparisons, but that's the quick first one I can think. That's the first one I can think of. Okay, so some kind of overall predictions here. The Patriots scored 589 points in 2007 and 557 in 2012. 589 and 557. At a first glance, where would you put them this year?
That question pisses me off because I was hoping they were going to smash the 07 records before the Edelman injury. I don't think it's possible now. So probably somewhere in the, over 500, but not exactly on those levels.
Murph?
I'd say right in between.
Right in between, huh?
So, yeah. I think they can be 2012. The schedule lines up pretty favorably. They get a couple road games in the middle of the schedule that kind of might hurt them, but the opponents that they'll be playing all year, I think they'll score points in abundance.
Fair enough. And for catches, yards, and TDs, I had Edelman leading in catches, Cooks leading in yards, and Gronk leading in TDs. Now I have Cooks leading in catches and yards, and then Gronk leading in TDs. We all on the same page there, or anyone have anything different?
No, I'm on the same page as long as Gronk stays healthy.
Yep, that's a big if. It will always be an if in Patriots land, but seeing them win without him last year was really nice. That's been the Patriots offense, breaking it down, previewing the NFL season. Everything looks good. The only real question is how good can they be and how many points will they score? As always, the Quickie podcast is brought to you by MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag and type in the code LEAD50 for a 50% deposit bonus. LEAD, all capital letters, 50 for a 50% deposit bonus. It's free money. Don't turn it down. Jumping ahead, this is Jason Spang, otherwise known as the Minister. We're also lucky enough to be joined by Jason Murphy, a.k.a. Murph, both diehard Patriots fans and longtime friends of mine from the Boston area. Who am I? I'm Matt Keller, managing editor of TheLead. And we are talking about the potential weak link in the Patriots team this year. It feels like it always has been since about 2006, the Patriots defense. I think we all agree on the biggest downside and the weakness of their defense, and let's start there. It's the pass rush. Give me your overall thoughts, Minister, about, while I work on getting them to deposit into your account, why don't you tell me your overall thoughts on the Patriots defense and just specifically what worries you so much about their pass rush?
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody in New England, the number one concern on the team is the pass rush. Everyone around the country thinks we're a bunch of assholes because we're, picking apart the clear-cut favorite to win the Super Bowl. But Ninkovich retiring, which I don't know if that was that big a hit because he had all the steroid stuff going on. Once he got caught, he wasn't the same player. And then we had high hopes for Ely, and the guy just came in and was an asshole. And so Belichick wanted to get rid of him pretty much the second he came through the door. So Trey Flowers better make another jump this year, which is high expectations for him. But otherwise, I don't know where the pass rush comes from.
Any ideas, Murph?
Huh?
Any ideas? Because
you guys know where I'm going with this.
Where are we going?
Well, let's just hope the secondary can buckle down some of these some receivers and give them time to get to the quarterback.
Shocking take by former cornerback Jason Murphy.
Yeah, but it does make a huge difference if you do have some cover guys back there.
I think you can argue that that's how they won last year and in the Ty Law Seahawks year.
Yeah, and it makes those pass rushers look a little better than they really are. But with the loss of Ninkovich, I mean, obviously he retired. I don't think he was the same player, but he had a knack for just being at the right spot at the right time. Same thing as Vrabel. I don't know who's going to fill that void. And I feel like the linebacking core is pretty questionable this year.
Okay, here's a couple.
The biggest question mark I have.
Yeah, depth at linebacker, depth in the front seven, pass rush. If you're talking pure pass rush, here's a couple of ideas that I've been kind of batting around. One is just playing Hightower at that left DN spot opposite Trey Flowers with Branch and Brown in the middle. And then you have David Harris in the middle, maybe a Landon Roberts on running downs, maybe Shea McClellan on non-running downs, and then you mix Van Noy in there and Jonathan Freeney, depending on the situation. Or you occasionally switch to a 3-4 with Branch in the middle, Brown on one end, Flowers on the other, and then you have like Shea McClellan and Hightower as the outside linebackers and a Landon Roberts and David Harris as the inside linebackers. Basically, I'm saying I hope they use Hightower somehow to be that second sack guy because he clearly has the talent to do it if you watch the Super Bowl. It's just a matter of whether they're too scared to move him off that play-calling central role. And with David Harris there, I feel like it's going to free him up.
Well, here's the problem with that, Keller, though. David Harris has looked real old during the preseason. Landon Roberts is hurt. I'm thinking maybe they signed Bones Jones for defensive end since the guy's on tons of steroids. He'll probably be able to get to the quarterback.
Not the worst idea I've heard, unfortunately. There's no way that guy couldn't get a sack in the NFL.
Definitely not.
Okay, let's talk about the secondary because despite us making fun of Murph for always defending the secondary, it's clearly going to be the strength of the defense. And not only does it have to be the strength, it has to be like it was in 2014 when the defense revolved around the secondary and everything went off of Revis. And it went downhill from there. Revis to Browner to McCourty. You get the point. Like everything was bumped up a notch by having Revis on the field. Is that going to be the same case with kind of, Revis and Browner? How close are Butler and Gilmore to Revis and Browner?
Well, I think it would be awesome to bring back Revis. I would knock someone out if they were videotaping me at 3 in the morning as well. But regardless, I think Murph is right. This might be the best secondary they've had, or at least it's the best dual corners they've had between Gilmore and Butler. And then even though McCourty's 30 yards back there, he's obviously a really good player, one of the highest paid safeties in the league. So I do think the secondary is going to be very strong.
Who's the third cornerback? That's my biggest worry right now. We still in Eric Rowe. We saw his, shall we say, liabilities in the playoffs. Wasn't enough to have them lose, but he almost, well, I guess he couldn't have done any more in that Julio Jones play, but he's not a great player.
No, I think it's probably Rowe. Not the biggest fan, even though he has had a good preseason, if that's worth anything. But there is, who's the option behind Rowe, Keller?
Coleman, right? And then obviously there's Cyrus Jones somewhere down there in the depth chart. I don't think we want to go there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Murph loves Cyrus Jones, but Coleman's actually had a pretty good preseason as well.
Let's see. I'm looking at the cornerbacks here. Yeah, they have Justin Coleman behind Butler and Eric Rowe behind Gilmore, and then Cyrus Jones and Jonathan Jones as the third stringers. But we're going to have, a lot of three cornerback. I guess if you put Butler, Gilmore, Rowe, McCourty, Harmon, and Chung on the field as a 6D back set, there are a lot worse. I don't know any team that can go as good 6D backs across the board as we can. Maybe Seattle, maybe one or two other teams, but it's definitely a top 5 secondary.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it'll probably be Rowe with Coleman mixed in, depending on what goes on or how Belichick's feeling that game. I mean, he goes back and forth with those guys all year. He did that last year, too. But I don't want Cyrus Jones to see the field, contrary to what Minister says. He sucks right now.
I think he's got about a 20% chance to make it as a Patriot, be on the roster 3 years from now. I think that chance is basically he pulls his head out of his ass when it comes to punt returns, and then he becomes a decent third, fourth cornerback because he has high character, he's a Saban guy, blah, 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 blah. He's going to keep fighting, that kind of thing. But he's one of those draft picks that didn't really make sense at the time. I guess it did because you can always use cornerbacks, but I didn't love the player, and it just never really has sense. And Belichick has way more of those than people around the country probably think.
Dude, are you out of your mind? That guy should be cut this preseason. He fumbled 5 of 19 punt returns last season.
That's a good stat. That's a relevant stat. That's a relevant stat.
Yeah, he that was supposed to be his main role, is to be the punt returner to start and work him in a little bit on defense, but he's so bad back there. He makes me so nervous. If anybody will cost you a game, that'll be. He could be the guy.
Who would you put at punt returner? I think Amendola, probably.
Just let him catch the fucking ball. It doesn't matter if Brady's there. Just put Amendola back there and let him catch the fucking ball.
Exactly.
Catch it every time. I don't get why they try to return these punts.
No, because no. I'm going to go back against you a little bit, in that Belichick really, really, really believes in special teams and really believes that every yard on special teams gives you an extra percentage point to win the game. And he's preached that his entire career. And I was reading something by people who have mixed opinions on him, but Mike Lombardi, who's clearly his good friend, and he was saying that, if you want to beat the Patriots, obviously rush Brady, but take away their special teams advantage is a big thing. So I think Welker and Edelman returning punts and Troy Brown over the years and Kevin Falk have been a big plus for their offense, starting in better position.
If that's the case, why not make Edelman the fucking full-time punt returner? They only put him in there in situations when they're like...
Because he's too valuable?
And he's down. Exactly. So if he values it that much, why wouldn't he be out there every play? I don't know.
Breaking news for both of you. Julian Edelman has a torn ACL. And then, second of all, Keller, all those guys you listed were sure-handed. You didn't list Cyrus Jones. The guy's a loser. So, I'm with Murph on this one. You get 12 on the field, even if it's just Amendola fair catching it. There was one game last year where Cyrus Jones, fumbled 2 in a row. We went a quarter and a half without Brady being on the field. Just have someone catch the ball and get the best player in the league on the field, is my opinion.
Agreed.
I don't think they have another option that's gonna able to, I don't know, break one for a touchdown or break a game open or whatever without Edelman back there. I don't think you have that guy. I mean, obviously Cyrus Jones can have the talent if he's got a pair of fucking hands, which he doesn't. So he's too much of a liability.
Yeah, no, well, we got to wrap up in a second, but I agree with what you guys are saying. This is clearly a different season, but I'm just saying Amendola is a half-decent returner. Just have him be the full-time returner. We don't really need him on offense, except for a couple plays here and there. Tell him he's the punt returner. Tell him, obviously, he can't drop anything, but tell him to try to get some returns and gain some yardage. If he does, he does, and if he doesn't, we're exactly what you guys said. This has been talking about the Patriots defense. We've been previewing the Patriots season, previewing the upcoming NFL season. Patriots' first game is Thursday, September 7th at 8:30 p.m. against the Kansas City Chiefs. We're looking forward to it, and I thank you guys for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Keller.
Thanks, Keller.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quickie podcast from The Lead Sports. This episode has been brought to you by MyBookie. Football season's upon us. Soccer season is too. They're fun to gamble on. You go to mybookie.ag, type in the code LEAD50, LEAD 50, all capital letters, to get a 50% deposit bonus when you sign up. They're giving away free money to first-time sign-ups. You might as well take advantage of it. And you can follow us at The Lead, at The Lead Sports on Twitter, at The Lead Sports on Instagram. If you go to that big company that Mark Zuckerberg once started in a Harvard dorm room and follow us, you'll see all our new material every weekday. Same with our website, theleadsports.com. And most importantly, you can go to theleadsports.com and sign up for our critically acclaimed newsletter, The Quickie, the same name as this podcast, to get the modern version of the sports page in your inbox every morning. It's 3 minutes, it's funny, it's quick, it's quirky, it's entertaining, it's insightful, and it gives you everything you need to know about the day in sports to begin your day. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us. And no matter where you're listening, please share this episode. Thanks again.